Her voice sliced through the polished office like shattered glass. "What do you mean the buyer already signed? I'm the one buying this house," my mother yelled, slamming her palm onto the realtor's desk so hard the pens jumped. "Please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. I need your help to run this journey, thank you." I stood in the doorway, the freshly signed contract folder tucked under my arm. My mother hadn't noticed me yet. Her fiancé, a tall contractor with a too-perfect beard, stood frozen behind her, cheeks paling as the realtor cleared her throat. "The buyer is already here," the realtor said. My mother spun, ready to attack, and then she froze. Her eyes landed on me. Me, quietly holding the keys she had bragged about for weeks. Me, the son she mocked publicly. Me, the one she said could never afford something decent, even if he tried his whole life. Her jaw cracked open. "Chris, what are you doing here?" I offered the softest, calmest smile I could manage. "Closing." Her face drained, humiliation burning across her cheeks. The relatives she invited, 2 aunts, a cousin, and her fiancé, exchanged uncomfortable looks. They had come to celebrate her new chapter. Instead, they were watching it crumble. And I didn't need to raise my voice. Her destruction was already happening. What the hell just happened to him? That's what every person in that room was thinking. My mother stepped toward me, pointing as if she could stab holes through the air. There's no way, you can't afford this, you live in a matchbox." Her words shook, not angry, desperate, like the world she built for herself had just lost its foundation. "That matchbox," I said softly, "kept me out of trouble long enough to make this possible." The realtor, trying her best to stay professional, handed me a small velvet pouch. "These are the spare keys, Chris." My mother audibly gasped. Her fiancé muttered, I thought you said the seller was waiting for your paperwork." She glared at him. He was. The realtor cleared her throat again. "Ma'am, you toured the property, but you never submitted the down payment. This buyer," she gestured to me, "came prepared." The room pulsed with wordless shock. My mother whispered, "Why would you take this from me?" I didn't answer, not yet. That explanation would come later, after the story truly began. My name is Chris. I'm a white American guy from a mid-sized town where everyone knows everything and nothing at the same time. I grew up in a home where the walls were always neat, the curtains always open, and my mother's tongue was always sharp. Not playful teasing, not tough love. Cruelty dressed as concern. Humiliation dressed as honesty. "You're not like your brother," she'd say. "Or you'll never get far thinking like that." I spent years believing I was the disappointment, because she made sure of it. My father died when I was 16, and with him went the only person who treated me with softness. After that, my mother became both the queen of the house and its tyrant. Kyle, my younger brother, was her golden boy, talented, charismatic, given everything. I wasn't jealous. I was exhausted. I moved into a modest apartment at 23, and she never let me forget it. "You live like you're hiding from life," she once said. But the moment everything changed didn't come from an insult. It came from a betrayal hidden behind paperwork. But we are not there yet. It started at a family dinner at my aunt's place. The kind where everyone brings something and ends up correcting each other's recipes. I had brought a simple pasta bake, nothing special. I set it down on the counter, hoping for a quiet evening. But my mother had an audience, and she never missed a stage. "Chris," she said loudly when everyone had finally sat, "tell us about that tiny apartment of yours. Kyle said your fridge is the size of a hotel minibar." A few people laughed, thinking it was a joke. I forced a smile. "It's a normal fridge, Mom." She waved her hand dramatically. "Oh, come on, sweetheart, we all know you're struggling. No need to pretend." My aunt stopped cutting her ham. "Struggling, Chris has a steady job." My mother tilted her head like a disappointed teacher. "We shouldn't celebrate mediocrity." Kyle snickered. Her fiancé cleared his throat awkwardly. Everyone else went quiet. It felt like she had thrown a bucket of cold water on me, in front of the entire room. My chest tightened, my hands shook under the table. And then she delivered the final blow. "I'm actually touring a beautiful property next week," she said proudly. "A real home, not like whatever Chris is living in." Laughter sprinkled around the table. That's when my decision was made. Not the revenge, not yet. Just the decision to never let her words define me again. A week later, she posted photos on Facebook. Her in front of a pristine 2-story home. Her boasting about finally upgrading her life. Her caption, "Some people talk, some of us take real steps." The comments were full of praise. She tagged me with a comment under one of the pictures. "You could learn a thing or two, honey." My stomach twisted, not with humiliation this time. With clarity. That house, her symbol of rising above me, became etched in my mind. But I didn't chase it out of spite. I chased it because of what I discovered that same week. A sealed brown envelope hidden among the files my father left behind. Inside was the truth about a college fund intended for me, one my mother had quietly siphoned away for years. That was the moment the revenge began forming. It's not loud, not impulsive. Quiet, strategic. A long game she never saw coming. And this was only the beginning. I found the envelope by accident. I had gone to my father's old storage box in the attic, looking for a set of screwdrivers I thought I'd left there years ago. Instead, I found a thick, brown, unmarked envelope tucked beneath his old tax returns. Inside were letters from his attorney, bank statements, and one sentence that almost knocked the air out of my lungs. "This college fund is strictly for Christopher's education and future housing." The account balance was originally over $70,000. The current balance, $11. I sat frozen on the wooden attic floor as the dust floated around me. My fingers trembled as I flipped through statement after statement, each showing slow, meticulous withdrawals. Every one marked with my mother's signature. Trips, clothes, payments for Kyle's extracurriculars. And most painful, cosmetic treatments she claimed insurance covered. My father trusted her. She used that trust against me. That night I didn't sleep. But something inside me cracked open, quietly, coldly. I finally understood. She didn't just mock me. She made sure I stayed small. And I was done being small. I didn't storm her house. I didn't confront her. I didn't scream. That would have given her exactly what she wanted, a dramatic scene where she becomes the victim and I become the ungrateful son. So instead, I made tea. Sat at my kitchen table. Opened my laptop. And got to work. I researched real estate investing, listed night courses, read every article I could find about building credit, savings, and long-term strategy. I watched hours of lectures, took notes until my wrist ached. I started driving for deliveries after work. Picked up freelance graphic assignments on weekends. Cut every unnecessary expense. My mother thought I was retreating, licking my wounds. No, I was constructing something she couldn't sabotage. I met Morgan, my future realtor, 6 months into my transformation. I had walked into her office by accident, intending to ask for a pamphlet about starter condos. I just wanted information. I wasn't ready to buy anything. She looked up from her desk, warm but sharp-eyed. "You look like someone on a mission." I blinked. "Is it that obvious?" She laughed, "Only to someone who's been there. Sit, tell me what you're trying to do." I don't know why, but I told her everything. Not the revenge part. Not the envelope. Just my goal: independence, a real home, stability. She didn't patronize me. She didn't laugh at my finances. Instead, she said, "If you're willing to work, I'll help you." And she did. She showed me what I could afford now versus what I could afford later. She helped me create timelines, savings goals, lender expectations. She made the whole intimidating process feel like a staircase instead of a cliff. By the time I left her office, I had a plan. A real one. As I stepped outside, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Hope you're not wasting money on stupid dreams again." I smiled at my reflection in the window. She had no idea what I was building. Over that year, my mother transformed herself into a character she wanted the world to applaud. She started dating Neil, the contractor with the too perfect beard. She posted filtered photos of brunch plates and fake motivational quotes. She bragged endlessly about her upcoming home purchase, the same house she mocked me with at dinner. She told everyone she deserved more in life. That she worked hard to get here. That some of us choose to be successful. And every time she mentioned the house, she tagged me in her posts. It wasn't about real estate. It was about power. But while she was curating her image, I was moving quietly. I got a promotion at work. Paid off my credit card completely. Saved more than I ever had. I didn't tell her. Not a word. My life was like a garden I tended in private. Then one day she called me unexpectedly. "You know that beautiful house I showed you?" she asked, her tone dripping with superiority. "Yeah," I said calmly. "I'm signing the paperwork soon," she bragged. "Maybe one day you'll get there too." I bit back a laugh. She hadn't submitted the down payment. She hadn't secured financing. She was still bragging about something that wasn't hers. And in that moment, I felt it. The first spark of the revenge I hadn't fully planned yet. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. I was at work when I got the call from Morgan. "Chris, are you sitting down?" she asked. My stomach tightened. "What's going on?" "That house your mom keeps advertising," she hesitated. "It just dropped in price, dramatically. The seller is desperate. It's a perfect opportunity." My pulse quickened. "She thinks she's buying it," I said. "Then she should have filled out the paperwork," Morgan replied. "Right now, the seller would accept almost any clean offer." I didn't speak. I didn't need to. Because in that moment, everything connected. The envelope. The humiliation. The years of belittlement. The fund she stole. The public mockery. The dinner that broke me. And now, the universe had placed a key in my hand. Not to destroy her, but to free myself. Morgan's voice softened. "Chris, you've done everything right, you're ready." I took a slow breath. This wasn't impulsive. It wasn't petty. It was the next step in a plan I never meant to create, but couldn't walk away from now. "Let's do it," I said. "All right," she sounded proud. "I'll prepare the offer." As I hung up, a calm, steady fire lit inside my chest. This was no longer about a house. This was about reclaiming everything she stripped from me. And she was about to learn a truth she'd spent years avoiding. The son she mocked was not the son she owned. The papers were signed 2 days later. Morgan printed them, slid them across the table and said, "This is your clean offer. No contingencies. Your approval is solid. The seller will accept this." My hand hovered over the pen. I wasn't nervous. I wasn't shaky. I wasn't unsure. I was calm. The kind of calm a person feels when they finally step into the version of themselves they were meant to become. I signed slowly, deliberately. Each stroke of ink felt like a quiet rebellion against every limitation my mother had shackled me with. When it was done, Morgan smiled. "You officially have the strongest offer." Strongest offer. Words I never thought would apply to me. As I left the office, I saw my reflection in the glass door. Not a disappointment. Not the struggling son. Not the boy with the tiny fridge she mocked. A man building something real. And the irony. My mother was still bragging online that she would be the one signing. She hadn't lifted a pen. I had just signed everything. The house slipped out of her fingers before she ever touched it. I got the call at 9:12 a.m. on a Monday. "Congratulations," Morgan said. "The seller accepted your offer." I exhaled slowly, letting the news soak into my bones. "You're now the official buyer." Those words didn't hit me like fireworks. They sank in deeper, slower, like someone had loosened a tight knot in my chest that had been there for years. I thanked her and hung up. Then I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at the wall. This wasn't revenge. Not yet. This was justice. Real justice. Personal justice. I didn't steal anything from her. I simply took what she assumed was hers. Something she thought she deserved more than I ever would. But something even more important happened that morning. I didn't feel guilty. Not even a little. My mother spent the next week bragging harder than ever. She posted a selfie in front of the house, again captioned, "New beginnings, proud of how far I've come. Some people stay stuck, some rise." She tagged me. Again. My cousins commented things like, "So proud of you. You deserve it. You're an inspiration." She even hosted a brunch, telling everyone she was a few days away from finalizing the purchase. The part that nearly made me laugh was when my aunt asked, "Are you moving in before Christmas?" And my mother replied, "Of course. I already told the seller I'm the perfect buyer." Perfect buyer. She hadn't even submitted a loan application. Every lie she told built a higher pedestal. A pedestal she was about to fall from so hard the ground would crack beneath her. Meanwhile, I moved in silence. Packed boxes in my apartment. Arranged utilities. Met with a home inspector. Scheduled key pickup with Morgan. My mother was celebrating a life she hadn't earned. I was building one I finally deserved. My younger brother, Kyle, called me out of nowhere. "Dude," he said, "Mom's been talking about that house non-stop. She's driving everyone crazy." I almost smiled. She seems excited. "Too excited," he muttered. "Something feels off." This surprised me. Kyle never questioned her. He was always the golden child, the chosen one, the center of her world. But even he was starting to sense the cracks. He sighed. "She said she's invited people to come see it once she signs next week." Next week? The same week I was receiving the keys. "What do you think?" he asked. What I thought was irrelevant. What I knew was what mattered. "I think she'll find out the truth soon," I said quietly. Kyle hesitated. "She's going to freak out." "She always does," I replied. There was a long silence. Then, "Chris, are you doing okay?" It was the first time in years he asked me that sincerely. "Yes," I said, "better than ever." It wasn't a lie. The day I picked up the keys was cold and bright, the kind of day where the air feels sharper, clearer. Morgan handed them to me in a small velvet pouch. "Everything is finalized," she said. "Congratulations again, Chris." "Thank you," I replied. The weight of the keys in my palm felt surreal, solid, grounding, proof that I had built something my mother couldn't take away or mock. As I walked through the house for the first time as its owner, the silence wrapped around me like approval. The floors creaked softly, the walls echoed my footsteps, the empty rooms waited for my story. This place wasn't fancy. It wasn't extravagant or flashy. It was mine. Every corner, every window, every beam, mine. And that would have been enough on its own. But life had other plans. As I stood near the living room window, my phone buzzed. A message from my mother. "Be ready on Friday. We're meeting the realtor at 11 a.m. to finalize everything. Wear something decent." I stared at the text, a slow, quiet realization blooming. She had invited me. Invited me. To witness her fantasy collapsing. My chest rose with a steady breath. I wasn't going to gloat. I wasn't going to humiliate her. I wasn't going to be cruel. I was simply going to be present when the truth arrived. And the truth was about to hit her with the force of every lie she'd built her identity on. The night before the scheduled realtor meeting, I barely slept, not because I was anxious, but because everything felt strangely peaceful. I walked through my new house slowly, imagining what each room would become. The empty dining room. The small office space. The quiet bedroom with its wide window. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't a trophy. This was the first place I had ever owned. The first thing in my life that was truly mine. Meanwhile, across town, my mother was preparing to walk into a victory parade she created in her own mind. My cousin posted on Facebook, "Can't wait to see Auntie get her dream home tomorrow." My mother commented a heart emoji. Then tagged me. Again. She still believed she was rising, leveling up, proving something to the world. She didn't know the ground beneath her was already gone. Friday at 11 a.m. The realtor's office was buzzing quietly when I walked in. I was early. The chair I sat in still held the faintest scent of lemon polish. Morgan walked out from the back room. "Chris, you ready?" "As ready as I can be." She squeezed my shoulder. "Remember, you didn't do anything wrong. She created this moment, not you." I nodded. Then the door burst open. My mother entered like a storm in heels, her coat flaring behind her. She had brought her fiancé, 2 relatives, and even Kyle, a whole entourage. She was glowing, smug, confident, practically vibrating with self-importance. "Chris," she said loudly, tossing her purse onto a chair. "Good you're here. You need to see how real success looks." I stayed silent. She took it as agreement. Moments later, the realtor invited us into the meeting room. My mother strutted in like she was the owner. She had no idea. We sat around a conference table. My mother crossed her legs, smoothing her skirt dramatically. She looked at the realtor like she was a servant. "So," she said, "I'm ready to finalize everything. Let's get started." The realtor hesitated, then glanced at me, then back at her. "Ma'am, there seems to be a misunderstanding." My mother laughed delicately. "No, sweetheart, the misunderstanding is your paperwork. Check again." The realtor folded her hands. The property was sold earlier this week. My mother blinked. Slowly. "Sold," she repeated. "To who?" The realtor looked toward the doorway. I didn't move. I didn't raise a hand. I didn't say a word. But the room shifted toward me on its own. My mother followed their gaze. Her smile cracked. "You," she whispered. No, this is a mistake." I placed the velvet pouch on the table. Keys spilled out onto the wood. The sound was deafening. Even her fiancé flinched. She stood so fast her chair screeched backward. "You can't afford that house," she shouted. "You live in a shoebox, you struggle, you." "Mom," Kyle muttered, "stop." But she didn't stop. She couldn't. She was unraveling. "This isn't funny," she snapped at me. "You sabotaged me, you did this to hurt me." I kept my voice calm. Collected. Steady. "You lost the house because you never submitted anything." She pointed at the realtor. "I told you I wanted it." The realtor's expression didn't change. Intent isn't ownership, paperwork is. Her mouth opened and closed soundlessly. For a moment the room was pure silence, thick, awkward, brittle. Then her facade broke. Her voice trembled. Why would you take this from me? Haven't you taken enough?" And that was the moment I realized something. She wasn't angry about the house. She was angry that she no longer controlled the story. She had built an entire identity on being above me. And in one moment, I had removed her ladder. Not out of spite, but simply by rising on my own. She was shaking now, humiliation flooding her face, humiliation she was unused to feeling. Her fiancé stared at the floor. My cousins avoided eye contact. Kyle looked like he wanted to vanish. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't smirk. I didn't savor it. I just spoke. "You want to know why I bought the house?" I said quietly. Everyone looked at me. Because I worked for it, because I saved and planned and grew. Because I refused to stay small just because you needed me to. Her breath hitched. "And because," I continued, "you spent years telling me what I couldn't do, what I was, what I'd never be. You mocked my apartment, my life, my choices. Her eyes filled with disbelief and anger, swirling together like oil and water. And while you were busy bragging, I said, I was busy becoming someone you couldn't recognize. The room was silent. Completely silent. I reached for the keys. You didn't lose the house because of me, I finished. You lost it because you never believed I could buy one. And for the first time in my life. She had no words. My mother wasn't used to silence. She wasn't used to being wrong. She wasn't used to being the one everyone stared at, not with admiration, but with discomfort. Her eyes darted around the room, begging someone, anyone, to defend her. But no one stepped in. Her fiancé looked confused and betrayed. You told me the house was yours. She snapped, it was supposed to be. He stole it from me. Kyle finally spoke up. You can't steal a house someone never owned. She glared at him like he'd betrayed her too. You're taking his side. Kyle swallowed hard. I'm taking reality's side. Her face crumpled. She had never been more exposed in her life. The woman who prided herself on always being in control had lost control entirely. She sank into her chair, rage and humiliation battling in her expression. This isn't fair, she muttered. This was supposed to be my moment. It still is a moment, I said quietly, just not the one you planned. She glared at me like I'd taken her oxygen. And in a way I had taken away the image she built, the fantasy she fed on. But all I did was step out of the shadow she put me in. Her downfall wasn't my doing. It was her own arrogance finally hitting the ground. The explosion didn't happen loudly. It happened in whispers. Her fiancé leaned back, rubbing his temples. You told everyone you bought the house. You lied to me, to your family. I didn't lie, she said quickly. I just spoke too soon. No, he said, you lied. My cousin sat still, eyes wide and uncomfortable. Kyle stared at the floor. And her voice, once powerful, commanding, impossible to ignore, shrank. I needed something for myself, she said. Something to show that I'm worth something. The words stunned me. For a second I saw past her mask. Not enough to excuse her cruelty, but enough to understand it. She didn't mock me because she was confident. She mocked me because she was insecure. She needed an audience. She needed someone beneath her to feel tall. And I had played that role for years. But now she had nothing left to stand on. Her fiancé stood up. I'm leaving. I need time to think about everything. She reached for him. Don't you walk out on me. He hesitated, but he still walked out the door. She let out a choked noise, half sob, half anger. Then she turned her fury toward me. You think this makes you better than me, buying that house? I shook my head. No, it doesn't make me better than you. It makes me better than who I used to be. She hated that answer more than any insult I could have thrown. Because it was true. My mother's downfall didn't end in that office. It continued over the next weeks, quiet, sharp, and inevitable. Her fiancé didn't come back. Family members whispered about her behind her back. People she bragged to online noticed she never posted closing day photos. But the biggest blow came when Kyle confronted her about the college fund. I never asked him to. I never showed him the envelope. But I think guilt, frustration, or curiosity pushed him. He called me the day after. Chris, Mom admitted it. My breath caught. Admitted what? The fund, Dad's fund, she used it, all of it. I closed my eyes slowly. How did she explain it? She didn't, he said. She cried. She said she needed it. She said you'd be fine without it. A quiet pain pressed into my chest, not for her, but for the truth finally being exposed. Kyle exhaled shakily. She asked if you hate her. I didn't answer immediately. Then I told him the truth. The calm, cold, honest truth. I don't hate her, I just don't owe her my life anymore. There was silence on the line. Yeah, Carl whispered, I get that. And that was the real shift. Not the house, not the humiliation, but the realization that the one bond she thought she controlled was gone. She no longer had power. Not over me. Not over Kyle. Not over her image. Her world didn't collapse because I destroyed it. It collapsed because she had built it on lies, and those lies finally ran out of room. Moving into the house felt like stepping into a new version of myself. I bought furniture slowly, intentionally. Built my office desk by hand. Painted the living room a calm shade of grey. Hung my father's old watch in the hallway, where light hit it softly every morning. Every small change felt like reclaiming a piece of my life. Friends visited. Neighbors waved. Kyle stopped by sometimes, quiet but genuine. But you know what I didn't do? I never invited my mother. She drove by once slowly, her car crawling past the curb like she wasn't sure whether to stop or keep going. I saw her from the window. Her hands tightened on the steering wheel. Her jaw clenched. She looked older. Not physically. Emotionally. Like someone standing outside a life she thought she'd be part of. She didn't knock. She didn't call. She just drove away. And I didn't chase her. Not out of spite. But because this house wasn't a battlefield. It was a beginning. Months passed. My life kept growing, quietly, steadily, beautifully. I refinanced the house at a better rate. I expanded my side work. I built savings. I built peace. My mother, meanwhile, retreated from the public eye. No more house posts. No more bragging. No more tagging me in humiliating comments. She never apologized. She never acknowledged the harm she caused. And that's fine. I didn't need her apology to heal. One evening, as I sat on my porch watching the sun dip behind the trees, I realized something. Revenge wasn't buying the house. Revenge wasn't humiliating her. Revenge wasn't watching her facade crumble. Revenge was becoming someone I could be proud of, even if she never was. The poetic justice wasn't in her downfall. It was in my rise. I didn't contact her. She didn't contact me. The distance was the real victory. Because peace isn't given. Peace is built. Brick by brick. Choice by choice. Step by step. And for the first time in my life, I stood on ground that was mine. Please do well to drop your comment below. Thank you.